Sam Harris argues that morality does not need the Bible. Critics push back hard. This is the debate: reason versus scripture, well-being versus commandments, and where human values really come from.
Harris starts with one claim. Morality is about the well-being of conscious creatures. Suffering is bad. Flourishing is good. That simple foundation, he says, does not require any holy book.
Harris points to his book, The Moral Landscape. He argues that moral questions have real answers because facts about brains and lives can be studied like any other science. He also points to secular societies. Countries with less religion, he notes, often show lower violence, more education, and stronger public health. For Harris, this suggests the Bible is not the source of good behavior. Harris reads specific verses. He highlights slavery rules, stoning commands, and harsh punishments. He asks a simple question: would a perfectly good author really write these lines? He argues that believers already filter the Bible. They keep the kind verses, skip the cruel verses, and use outside judgment to decide which is which. That filter, Harris says, is morality itself. Critics answer back. William Lane Craig says, without God, there is no objective moral law. Right and wrong become just opinions. Without a lawgiver, he asks, why is anything truly wrong? Other critics say Harris misreads the Bible. Context matters. Ancient laws, they argue, were reforms for their time, not eternal commands. And the deeper message is love, mercy, and human dignity. Some critics also point to history. They say hospitals, universities, and human rights grew inside religious traditions. Strip away the Bible, they argue, and you lose the roots of Western moral life. Harris replies that good ideas can survive without their old container. We kept the wisdom of ancient thinkers, he says, without keeping their astronomy, their medicine, or their gods. Jordan Peterson enters the debate. He says the Bible is not a science book. It is a deep story about meaning, sacrifice, and responsibility. And Harris, he argues, reads it too literally. Harris pushes back. If the text is only a story, he asks, why do millions treat it as law? Vague symbolism, he says, cannot justify concrete rules about sex, punishment, and unbelievers. Philosophers raise a separate worry. They call it the is-ought problem. Just because science can measure well-being, they ask, does that prove we ought to care about it? Harris answers with an analogy. Health, he says, also starts with a value. We choose to prefer life over death. From that one starting point, medicine becomes objective. Morality, he argues, works the same way. Religious ethicists reply that his starting point is smuggled in. Why prefer well-being at all? For them, only a creator can ground that choice. And without God, values float without anchor. Harris turns to real examples. He describes a girl denied education, a woman stoned for adultery, a boy killed for blasphemy. He asks, does any honest reader really need a verse to condemn this? Critics answer that atheist regimes also caused horror. They point to Stalin and Mao and argue that removing God does not automatically produce peace. Both sides, they say, can misuse power. Harris agrees ideology can be dangerous. His point, he clarifies, is not that atheism is a moral system. His point is that specific beliefs, religious or secular, must be tested by their real-world consequences. So the disagreement narrows. Both sides want less suffering and more human dignity. They split on the source of morality. Reason and science on one side, revelation and scripture on the other. The debate stays open. Harris keeps testing scripture against evidence. Critics keep testing reason against mystery. And viewers, in the end, must weigh the arguments and decide where their own moral compass points.